Morning. Good to be with you this morning. I'm out here at the Big Nickel, as I said I was going to be, from a different shot now, a little bit closer to the nickel itself, and continuing to build on the 4 pillars of a healthy Christian business leader. The 4 pillars are healthy relationships, biblical financial values, biblical spirituality, and and balanced living is the 4th one there. And then the pillar that we're focusing on this week is actually biblical financial values. And that's kind of why I'm standing out here by the Big Nickel, reminding us, that money isn't everything. And this week, the series is called Gifts. Yesterday we talked about the fact that God is the giver of gifts and that He is really the giver of all good gifts. And I just touched on a few. There's a lot more that we could focus on, of course. Today I'm going to talk about gifts that seem small. And when you think about gifts that seem small, of course, one of the first stories that pops into people's minds when they think about the Bible is the story of the boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish. But I'm not going to talk about that story today. Clearly we see in that story a small gift, and Jesus takes it and uses it for great things. But sometimes we get caught up in the mindset that bigger is better. The bigger the gift, the better it is. Here are 2 situations in the scriptures in which we see that's not necessarily the case. And again, the little boy with the 5 bread and 2 fish, obviously that's one story, but here's 2 others in scriptures as well. 1 Chronicles chapter 16 verses 2 to 3. We read this: When David had finished offering the burnt offering and the peace offering, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord. He distributed to every one of Israel, both man and woman, to everyone a loaf of bread and a portion of meat and a raisin cake. So what the circumstances were of this particular text are the fact that the Ark of the Covenant had just been returned, and David was leading God's people in worshiping God and celebrating the fact that the Ark of the Covenant had come back to them, and so they were rejoicing together. And what is interesting, of course, in all of that is, first of all, David's wife was not impressed with David because she felt that he went overboard when it came to the celebration. But what we also find here is that David, as part of the celebration, he goes out of his way and he gives every man and woman, he gives them all a loaf of bread, he gives them some meat, and he gives them a raisin cake. And so again, a very significant thing. He's giving them what seems to be very small things. But what I find interesting is the king is serving the people. And that is significant. And I think we need to take a lesson from that, especially if you are the owner of your business. Take a lesson from David in that. The second passage is actually in Matthew chapter 25, verse 35 and 36. And Jesus is speaking, and these are his words, and he says this: For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Now, what is significant, of course, here is Jesus is foretelling the future, the judgment that is going to come upon the world. And it's God who is judging the world. In particular, he's judging the religious world. It's the separation of the sheep and the goats, both believing that they are good people, both believing that they're serving God, both being religious people. And what separates the sheep from the goats, what separates those who are true followers of Jesus Christ and those for whom this is just a religious act, something that they do religiously, is what they did. What they did, what they gave to the poor. They cared for the thirsty. They clothed those who were naked. They sheltered the homeless. They cared for the sick and dying. And they visited those who were in prison. These are all what seem to be small things. A glass of water. A sandwich. Here in Canada, maybe a Tim Hortons gift card to someone standing on the street corner, helping them out. dropping off clothing, either to a shelter or to, something like the Pregnancy Care Center or the Jarrett Center or the Salvation Army. These things seem to be small. And yet, in the eyes of Christ, they are the thing that separate those who really love him and those who are just about being religious. So today, as you go about your day, here's the question that I think we need to all grapple with. Am I religious, or am I a true follower of Jesus Christ? May we be those who give the seemingly small, insignificant gifts because they matter. Have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow up here from a different angle.